Familia. In this episode, we're talking about Bad Bunny's new album, DeBÍ TiRAR MÁS FOToS. This is a really interesting project, and if you're a fan of music, you really need to check this out.
Hey Enzo. Oh, this is probably too long for a voice note.
Hey Claire, I know. Save it for the podcast.
Your space for an unfiltered and candid conversation.
Skip the small talk and dive in deep. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome Familia to the second episode of a new season.
Episode
too
2.
long for a voice note.
We are back. How are you?
I am okay.
How was your week?
It was good. I think catching up with life in general. I think January is a lot of a catching up. I think,
It is. It's very like an admin month. You find that?
It is a bit of I feel like it took me the whole January that I felt really long to kind of fall into a place.
Okay, like a routine.
Yeah, I think I really
okay.
struggle with routine. Did you struggle with routines in January?
No, I don't think so.
Or you are the type of people 1st of January, boom, 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 these are all my goals. I'm going to just go for that.
I think I'm more like that, probably.
Okay. So
I think I'm a bit like that.
Do you have any new routines that you have for the new year?
Oh, let me think. Well, in January, I tried to reduce my alcohol and sugar consumption.
Ooh.
I tried to reduce my bread consumption
Healthy.
as well.
Oh, bread consumption is
Because I love bread. I fucking love bread.
know.
Do you really love bread?
I love bread. Have you tried rye bread?
This keeps on coming up. This is the second time that's come up recently.
It's really because it's more like nuts and it's not wheat. It has rye.
Is it? Oh yes, it's not wheat. Because I actually have a wheat intolerance.
Yeah.
So
it has for example, it's not like a gluten-free bread. But if you have just intolerance with wheat, it's a good option.
Okay, maybe I should get some rye.
And it's kind of it feels like you're eating bread, but it's way healthier. It has a lot of seeds inside.
Yeah,
and
it's very Scandi, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of very East European as well.
Okay, so I'll probably try it. Okay then, thank you for that.
So
that was something new that I did in January. I also decorated my living room in January.
It's true.
Which is really was a big thing.
You went on holidays in January,
Went to Barbados.
You went to Barbados. Yeah, how
loved
was
it.
Barbados?
Absolutely loved it. Oh my god, Rihanna's homeland.
True.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I'd never been to the Caribbean, and it was beautiful.
So cool,
I got so close to Venezuela. I was like, hola, Venezuela.
It's really close. It's really nearby.
I think I understood more of the climate that you're used to.
Yeah.
And some food.
I understand now why you complain so much about the sun and the sky. And now it makes a bit more sense.
But I think the beaches in Barbados must very much look like beaches in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And obviously some of the food crosses over, like the plantain and the rice and beans, but then they have more jerk chicken and stuff, which I don't think you have in Venezuela.
No, really. It's not a thing.
But I absolutely loved it. I will go back in a heartbeat.
I would love to go to Barbados.
You would love it. You would absolutely love it.
It's one of these places. I think there's a lot of places in the Caribbean that I would like to explore because it's explore for me, a lot of the islands and things like that. And actually, speaking of,
okay,
I'm just gonna start with my topic.
Oh
this
my
week,
goodness!
If you don't mind.
Okay, of
If you don't mind,
course.
Claire. Speaking about islands and things like that, my topic actually is an idea you gave me of a topic.
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, probably because we're talking about it, so you gave me an idea for this topic. So I want to talk about Bad Bunny new album, DeBÍ TiRAR MÁS FOToS, DTMF.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I say that because obviously he's from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an island,
Caribbean.
So everything is linked.
Full circle moment.
So
love that topic.
Another place I haven't been. I would like to go to Puerto Rico one day.
I am dying to go to Puerto Rico. I would love to go.
And the fact I want to talk about the album with not only about do you like the songs or not, but I think a bit more the cultural impact that the album has and all the cultural nuances of it and it made me think. I think this album made me think a lot about where I come from. I'm from Venezuela, and all the cultural links there are as well. So I think that's gonna be a bit of a chat about that. Yeah,
interesting.
So if you don't know who Bad Bunny is one of the biggest superstars or singers or rappers or reggaeton artists of the world. He released a new album this past month of January.
Yeah.
It's called I Should Have Taken More Photos. In Spanish, DeBÍ TiRAR MÁS FOToS, and basically it's a huge success. The album is still #1 everywhere, including in English or other languages speaking countries, which is really, really a big achievement for him and for I think Latin American culture and Spanish language overall is really impressive. And obviously if you follow us you know that we like Bad Bunny, we like some of his work or
Yeah.
a lot of his work. Maybe we drift apart a bit lately.
I think we
right?
had a moment where we
had a
drifted
moment.
apart, definitely.
Yeah.
I think we really, well, he had like, I think we liked him from the beginning. I
Yeah,
don't want to say
true.
we liked him before he
True,
was,
true,
not
true.
before he was famous, of course, like, but before he was super globally famous,
True.
I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So he had like a few really good albums, and then he had a really good album called Enverana Sin Ti,
Yeah.
which was really good. And then after that, he went like a bit mental, I think it's fair to say.
yeah.
And then that was a whole incident with the phone
Breakups,
grabbing, and
fame,
then he went
money.
with Kendall.
What do you think about the album before like going into it?
I love the album.
yeah.
I absolutely love it. And once again, I would like really gone off of Bad Bunny, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest. I think he's back to kind of what people were drawn to about him initially in the first
Yeah.
place, or at least for me, like
Like a bit of
talking about
authenticity, right?
exactly authentic, talking about where he comes from, which is Puerto Rico, talking about issues that they have in Puerto Rico, talking about colonialism,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And I think what he's done with this album is very interesting in terms of bringing in lots of different Latin styles and
Yeah.
really kind of celebrating
Yeah.
Latin culture, I
Definitely,
think, because
yeah.
I think it sounds not only from Puerto Rico, it
Yeah.
sounds from Venezuela, from
Yeah.
probably, like Cuba, lots of different
Like rhythms
places.
that kind of permeate.
Exactly.
He managed to make all these rhythms or Latin American rhythms like cool again.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is not being said. He's not the first one doing it. Like obviously, we got Ricky Martin, Jennifer Lopez. We have many artists that have been like always being
Refreshing,
really, like,
yeah.
refreshing what it means to be Latin American, putting like Latin sounds here and there. We got like, I don't know, we got Maluma. He always has like a salsa song on his album. That's always there. Shakira, obviously.
Yeah.
That's not something on her
No,
off.
yeah.
But I think like what Bad Bunny did was he took all these traditional sounds and made them cool again in a way.
Yeah.
And it kind of an album that sounds current and fresh and people feeling like, oh, this is kind of like something
Exactly.
cool.
But I think what's
Yeah.
also quite unique about Bad Bunny, opposed to the people that you mentioned, is like, I don't know, he has something very unique, and he's not, of course he's a singer, but he has that like rap reggaeton artist thing, and that's
Fusion.
a bit more unusual to see, because you've got that really typical Bad Bunny sound with the really traditional sounds. Like I think
Yeah.
there's a song called like Nueva
Nueva
York,
York, yeah.
and it like starts like really like traditional, and then the beat comes, and it's
Yeah.
like literally like gave me like goosebumps,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it
yeah.
comes in with like this typical
Yeah.
Bad Bunny sound.
Si te quieres divertir.
And I think that maybe that's what he's achieved, that because I think his sound is quite unique, I would say.
I think it is, you
compared to like, someone like, I really like him, but like Raw Alejandro, for example, he did a similar kind of album
It didn't
only
go
in
that-
November,
it
and
didn't
it
go
didn't
that far,
it didn't
yeah.
quite land for some reason,
that
but
way.
he's more of like a singer, I would say.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right,
but
yeah.
he's managed to capture something like very, you're right, it's nothing really new or completely groundbreaking, but it is quite different.
From my perspective, and I think I won't talk for everyone, obviously, but I think in my generation, like you don't see like salsa, merengue, or those rhythms like something cool. It's like something like the grannies or like the aunties they listen to, or there's something like, or you have bad memories attached to it. Like you are in a fucking like public transport. It's 12 p.m. You are sweating through your jeans, and you have like fucking salsa so loud that you cannot even hear. So it's like a very like you have a lot of experiences that make you like maybe separate a bit like the music. So I have a lot of those experiences, and I think a lot of my friends, I can talk with them like, oh, listen to that song of salsa, reminds me being in a sweating and being in the middle of public transport in the middle of the day, horrible experiences. But I think that's an experience for a lot of Latin American people, how like for our generation or people my age, maybe some of us that are a bit distant for what that genre of music. And also like interestingly enough, a lot of that type of music, it's like associated with like poor people or like people from different backgrounds. So maybe if you are too like if you're not posh, you listen to that type of music. So it's a lot of like a lot of classism like connected and like related to music styles, which is fucked up. Which I guess it also happened like with rap, and how back in the days rap was only for like if you were like for certain spaces or like you were certain walks of life or whatever. That happens a lot with those rhythms as well. So I think it's really interesting how And I see, and I think what this album, I see it so different from others, is like how I see so many people in my circle, people that I follow, people that are my friends, that will never listen Bad Bunny, or they will never listen to salsa or things like that, and they're listening to Bad Bunny now.
That's
and they're
interesting.
like, oh my God, this is, because the thing is touching, it's kind of like making all the sounds are part of your culture, like making them available in a different way for you, and being like, okay, it's okay to reconnect with this and understand and see the beauty of it.
Definitely.
That maybe it was taken away.
There's been so many kind of memes and like videos and stuff about like, oh my God, how could Bad Bunny release this album in like January? So obviously in like, you know, the northern hemisphere, like it's winter, and you know there's lots of really funny videos of people dancing in the snow, and it's like it doesn't really, but I think that that's one of the reasons why it's really taken off. I think it's a really good album in general, and I think it would have like killed it in summer as well, but I feel like, do you think because the world is like once again like so dark, and especially for Latino people, especially in the US, I feel like it's such a celebration of Latino culture, and I feel like maybe it's, even though he talks about really serious topics, it's over this like really light and fun and like feel good beat. And I don't know if it's just giving that like energy and like happiness that we all need. And that's one of the reasons why like it's really done super well.
Definitely.
Because it's like, oh my God, like some life, you know?
I think it has connected with, I think that found so interesting how like, and again, like how, I mean, the power of music without sound so cheesy, right? But how like, this has connected with so many different people that speaks or they don't speak the language. But I think once you kind of read some of the, I think a lot of the experiences that he told, some of them, as you said, were very serious topics. They talk about like how gentrification, how like the island is becoming more and more like a piece of America, how like older people, they have less spaces to live in their own island because it's becoming all just a touristic spot. And I think that's a really interesting thing, that it's not only an experience for Puerto Ricans. It's an experience that it can be
true. It's global
anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know if you see like there's like this short film which was like he released with the album with the old man. Actually, he's like a cinema director and actor, I believe, from Puerto Rico. I think he's very famous.
Okay.
I don't have his name on my brain now, but he's really famous, and he acts on the short film, and it really makes me think about like how in the short film he goes to his favorite like coffee shop, and the coffee shop is just Renew, and it's cool, and it's like trendy, and it's very Instagram now, and he tries to buy something, his very like traditional bread that they have in Puerto Rico. I think it's a bread or a sweet, I don't remember. And he basically was like, oh, we don't have this, do you want it gluten free, do you want this, you want to have, you cannot pay. He only had cash, he cannot pay without, if it's not a card, because they only take cards. And then someone else come to kind of help him. It's like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna pay for you, because it's kind of like the whole story that tells is like how bit by bit more of the traditions and older people and things that are like really close to culture are being like diluted, and how places like Puerto Rico, as many other places, like you see more like being the modernism and like opening up, and how we forget about the older people and people that they build these things.
It's true. And that's interesting that if you're kind of talking about that and then talking about the old kind of sounds that would have been fresh in like the older people's generation, then it's interesting that he's kind of blending the two.
Even though I find interesting how this being a trend, I think he just pushed it to the next level. That's why Bad Bunny needs to give we need to give credit him, because he's really smart. I think you can feel that with Shakira, Rosalia, Karol G. You can tell how they've been pushing like traditional sounds like from different cultures.
Countries,
and they managed to have big hits, being like merengue or bachata or whatever. They managed to have them, but they didn't compromise in a full project because it's too risky. But then Bad Bunny, he was very smart, being like, okay, this is also working. This is maybe my moment to also like do this album. You know, there's also a bit of that, I feel, a part of him being smart and with his music and his business, with his like his career, obviously.
Do you like think that a couple of things about Bad Bunny, like just out of interest, like do you think that it's like, what's the word, like not like a sellout, but he's kind of like using his culture when he's kind of like sold out on a few things? Do you think that he's like doing it in a fully genuine way? Or no? Do you think there's something around that?
That's a really good conversation. It's a really good point, because I think definitely career-wise, he was not his best, even though he was not doing bad.
No.
But any mean, on his level, maybe, but he was doing great still. But his popularity was declining.
He was in a big dip.
He was in a big dip. People were not liking him. So, yeah, if you want to be like thinking business-wise, this was such a smart decision, because it's impossible to hate the man that is doing something like that.
Yeah.
So you're right. Maybe this idea, I do believe this idea is a really genuine idea, and I think the result shows like it's a really like, and the way it's a project with everything, all the musicians are Puerto Rican. It's a very the way the project it's come to, as a conclusion, you can tell it's a lot of passion and love.
Yeah.
But did he specifically choose this moment to do it because it would help his career? Maybe. Maybe it would be, this is the perfect moment to do it. Like, I need sympathy. I cannot be talking about cars, money, and being in America with Kendall Jenner. Maybe this is the time to go back to...
Exactly.
And maybe this is like also like a personal exploration as well. That's why he was going through so many things in his life.
Yeah.
And the way to kind of fall back into good place was going back to his roots.
I think
it could be
so.
as romantic as that or not.
I think there's been something that I definitely struggle with Bad Bunny, and that whole thing is what you're touching on. And it's like, for example, like, I really don't like Kendall Jenner. I really don't vibe with the Kardashians at all. I also absolutely adore his ex-girlfriend Gabby. Like, I'm 100% team Gabby. So like, I've followed her for years, haven't I? Like, I absolutely love that girl. You do, So when he started dating, or apparently dating, whether it's real or fake or publicity, when he started dating Kendall, I think a lot of people were confused, because obviously Kendall represents everything that he seems to be the opposite of. Like, the family is all about consumerism, taking other identity from other cultures and using it as their own, like all of that stuff, representing everything that he's always sung about hating. And then he had that weird album, which was just about like, seemingly about like... fucking Kendall Jenner and like cars and stuff like that, and I think it didn't really resonate. And now there's of course there are like potentially some like love songs in this album, but it really seems to be about Puerto Rico and like the love for his culture. But maybe I think I could never understand why. But then once again, I think I don't want to take the conversation too off topic, because like you can argue, why does it matter who someone's dating, number one, and also number two, maybe he was going through a moment. He's literally 30, 31, so it's like
it's a kid.
Maybe he was like going through a moment of being like really big in America and getting all of these opportunities, and then
it's a huge deal.
Exactly, and it definitely would take you out of like your comfort, take you out of like what you were used to, I guess. And maybe I've heard him say like on interviews that like, you know, you really need to be away from somewhere to really appreciate something, in terms of like him being away from Puerto Rico and then appreciating it. And another thing that really stuck with me on an interview with him was him saying that, like you said, he's used all Puerto Rican musicians, and they're like not particularly famous. And he said that he was way more comfortable in the room with them than, like, he said, like, I know some really big names at this point, which is obviously true. And he felt so much more comfortable in the room with those artists. So I just wonder if he was, like, going through, like, a moment of, like...
exploration of, like, changing himself.
And maybe that's okay. And also, like, on that point of, like, does it matter who people date? Like, should that matter? But it did honestly put me off of him dating Kendall.
It was a thing. I think like dating Kendall gave him like a next level of stardom. I think
also true.
I think the moment he started dating Kendall, he became like this Hollywood superstar, you know? He was in all the advertisements, like the Gucci thing, you know, like I think that elevated his image to a different level. I always thought this was kind of like agreed.
A fake thing, I think.
I don't know.
So
maybe
too.
they were fucking sometimes. I don't know. But I don't know if they were that official. They seem to be. Maybe they were. Who knows? Their problem. But I do think this helped him to reach new levels, and it helped her as well to reach kind of like refresh her image,
keep relevant.
Yeah. She's cool. She's dating with someone like Bad Bunny. The cultural differences are kind of interesting for media, and I agree that's that now. Like. It's true, like, I feel like who you date is difficult, because if you date someone with values that are so against yours, I think what does that say about yourself self.
But the thing is, it's like, it's, not only dating somebody with different values to you, you've become famous because you've sung songs about how these people are terrible.
That's true.
And then you're dating one, and then you're like seen having lunch with bloody like Bezos or whatever.
It's true.
You know?
It's a complicated one because I think we mentioned that it's also, I think it's unfair to put on Kendall Jenner all this like
also true
pressure, because I don't think she's personally going to Puerto Rico and colonizing Puerto Rico and doing these things, but I do understand that she represents like an American ideal that it's really far off from for what he's talking now about his culture.
But
like
it's not even far off. It's she represents everything he hates. That was a confusing thing.
But maybe not. That's the thing. Maybe we think that, or maybe not.
It's getting tense.
Maybe we think that. It's like,
true.
ooh, maybe,
it's true.
Maybe she doesn't represent as many things that we think, or maybe he doesn't want to see that.
I think people are, myself as well, for some reason, interested in Bad Bunny's love life. He is someone who you are interested in his love life for some reason.
Because you don't know a lot. So the
exactly.
sneaks are like, you're sneaking into his life a little bit, and you're, ooh.
And he's clever like that, because the video for Baile Invalidable,
Baile Invalidable,
it's like, have you seen it?
Yeah.
So basically there's, if you haven't seen it, like it's him kind of like, it's the same actor that you were talking about, the old man, and it's him when he's older dancing, and then he has like a flashback of this like unforgettable dance that he had with this girl who's like super beautiful. But there's like a girl playing the girl in the past, and like when we watched it, obviously I'm super dramatic and I really love Gabby. When Jorge and I watched it, I literally screamed because it looks like Gabby, because the girl enters the shot and it's blurry and it looks like Gabby, and the model looks like Gabby as well. And then there's this whole rumor of like he's wearing a blue suit. There was like I think they went to like the Grammys or something, and she's wearing.
It's kind of like this little teaser.
But he knows that. He knows there's like a thing around Gabby or Kendall, like Turista. Is that about Kendall? And like. That's also smart as well.
Yeah, I think he's an excellent like businessman. I think he knows what he's doing. I don't think it's casual. He's not like an innocent. And I think when you see his interview, you can see he's a very assertive person. Yeah, he's like, this is my plan. This is what I do. Like blah 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 blah. And this is not all like random, you know. Yeah. But it worked, and that's what I think matters at this point. And I think like the message of the album is really like effective. And the fact that connect with so many people in beautiful ways.
I think so too. And I really like how he's moved since the album's popularity. Like I think he's really back to himself. Like we never knew what he was like before anyway, but he seems way more like jokey and cheery and happier in all of the promo. He's doing a ton of concerts in Puerto Rico that are only available for Puerto Rican residents. I really love that. Nice. And he seems to be like matching up with his morals of what the album is about. So I think he's back to his best. I'm telling you.
I have to say there's moments in this album. There's like this song, well, the title song, like the MTF. I think I have like particularly, and I don't want to make this about like Venezuelans, right? But I think obviously I know a lot of Venezuelans because I'm from there. But I think like I can see how songs like that song, it really like. I think that's how a song that it's about his own experience kind of resonate with so many others. Yeah. And in the case, for example, of like Venezuelans, for what you know, like we have like a really bad communist country, communist government that turns into a dictatorship, and now like you know more than 8 million of Venezuelans out of the country the last 10 years. So it's like a lot of people out. And I think that song specifically, like the title song, is really hard hitting. It's moving. Like the first time I heard that song, I was like, oh no. At the end, it has messages that I feel like they are such like a common experience for Latin America overall. And like in this moment in time, it may be Venezuela or maybe any other country, but like the fact that, you know, like migrating to find something better or like leaving people behind and all of that, it's really like, I think the song encapsulates that in a really beautiful, also the production of the song, and it's so nostalgic and so beautiful, but also it's like a bit of hope and a bit of kind of like be present in your time and try to keep as many moments as you can. Definitely. Because you don't know when you don't have any more. So I think like he touched emotionally so many people, and I think that I have like family members that will never listen to Bad Bunny because they used to hate him, and now they're like, oh my god, like this album, like the way, and again, that's how like he bought these like traditional rhythms as well. These things, he make them cool and modern.
Yeah.
And he's connecting with people that wouldn't connect with him in other ways. So it's kind of like, I think it's really good. Like, I don't know, it's a really beautiful project, honestly.
And I think what's clever as well, again, like to go back to the dating thing as well, is that like these songs, they can be seen as love songs.
Yeah.
But they're not. Like, if you dig deeper,
There's more than that,
because I think that's why there's this whole thing of like, is it about Kendall? Is it about Gabby? But most likely it's probably about Puerto Rico and that experience. But he's clever because he gets the intrigue by going through that. But then actually, like, there's something else.
I learned a lot of Puerto Rico through more time, because we know things here and there, but I think like you learn about his country a lot, and like through like the traditions, what they drink, how they do it, and when you really pay attention to the lyrics. Obviously not everything is poetic, there's a lot of like suck my dick including all of that, but in a Bad Bunny way, you know, in a consensual more kind of way, because that's the thing Bad Bunny thing about being sexual. He's very more consensual than the other rappers or whatever, reggaeton artists. But there's a lot of like getting to, which also that's part of their culture as well, like reggaeton, it's born there. That's a lot of like who they are as well. And
but it was like banned, right? I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know that that was a thing until this album, that reggaeton was like banned, and it could only be like Daddy Yankee like had to be like, they had to do like undercover gigs and stuff, like, and all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of richness in that album, like a lot of stuff that obviously it takes me like double effort, because I need to first of all go and read the lyrics in English.
Well. And things I don't understand. It's like, what language is that? It's Spanish, but it's like, you know, like, what the fuck is saying? Whatever, you know, like, you need to get into that.
Like, I didn't know that like the pothole thing in the road was a thing, and the political meaning of that, or like lo que pasó in Hawaii, like that, and I was like, oh yeah, of course.
I think I want to like mention, I think like, for the listeners that maybe they're not from Latin America, I think we'll never mention this because it's very random, but you know, like the cover with the chairs. I think those chairs, like, if you are from Latin America, I think also that's how he's so smart, because it seems to say so silly, but those type of chairs that represent, like, for Latin Americans, like, they represent like your gathering with your families, with your friends, quinceañeras, birthdays, like every single type of like social gatherings, you will see those fucking chairs everywhere.
But they've got the like platanos in the background as
well. They have them. So it's kind of like all these like little messages that takes you back from your roots. And if you are, even if you're not from Latin America, you see it and you kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of like, it's interesting how like those symbolisms, they represent how people like communicate and how people get together.
Just to push a little bit, like, you mentioned Rosalia.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's done anything super different to what Rosalia did with flamenco?
No, actually, that's a really good point. I want to bring this up. If anyone who needs to give this credit, it has to be Rosalia, because Rosalia, it's the, let's say in the mainstream, I'm sure there's a lot of like amazing artists, like independent artists that have been doing this maybe for years that we don't know because we don't have access to them, or we don't need them, or we didn't find them, or whatever. But I think Rosalia would be the best example that we have in the recent years of history of someone turning their cultural sounds and make them cool. Like, there's no, and that's why Rosalia became such a big star so quick, because no one has done in her scale that. She took flamenco, which is the most traditional Spanish thing that I'm pretty sure a lot of Spanish people don't even care of flamenco, they don't even like it. Again, like maybe happens as well with salsa or merengue, they don't even like it, a lot of people. And she took it and make them cool, something current. She like put in a pot, twisted, and make something different, which is what Bad Bunny did. So if anything, again, Bad Bunny is not doing anything revolutionary. It's been done. Rosalia did it a few years ago, and she's still doing it. And if anyone should have credit of this type of like approach, formula, it has to be Rosalia in the recent times, in the mainstream at least.
I think what he's done as well, though, is, and I don't think this is by accident, that I really like how political he is. True. And I think that that's something that, you know, Rosalia, I think I don't know if she doesn't, I'm sure she cares about politics, but her music isn't particularly political,
it's
right?
Not, it's not as Bad Bunny's. Bad Bunny has more political.
There's something about that I think is really important for this moment in time, especially not really for like us here, but I think for the US. I think, and for everything that Puerto Rico will experience, everything that Latinos will experience, Mexicans, especially, you know, everyone in the US with Trump coming in. So I think that it's really like exactly the right moment, because he obviously was like preparing the album when that hideous man came forward and said like Puerto Rico is like a floating pile of garbage or whatever. So
that was horrible.
He obviously must have been like, well, fuck you, because you know what's coming, like this thing which is really proud of, or telling Latinos, I think, to be proud. I'm so happy that he's back and back to his like what we always loved about Bad Bunny.
Definitely, yeah.
What is your favorite song on the album? Or favorite couple of songs?
I think obviously I really like the title track because, you know, because it's like, even though ironically enough, I think like, because the song is called like, I should have taken more photos, and I think funny enough I'm a photographer, so I take a lot of photos.
Exactly.
So in that way I'm like, okay, I'm covered here. Like the song is fucking sad, but I've been taking a lot of shitty photos and good photos my whole life, so at least I know I have a lot of like recollection of my life in different moments. So Bad Bunny, you need to take more photos always. That's that song I think is really beautiful song, and I think like that song is good for someone that's not a fan of Bad Bunny.
I agree.
Because
I totally agree.
It's very like mellow and
poppy,
it has
almost,
poppy, like you feel like it's a bit sad, but also it's very uplifting.
Definitely.
It's a bit melancholic, but not. And I think you get like easier version to digest of him, so I think it's like really good.
And once again, he's doing that thing of it can be romantic or it can be more serious, 100%. Depending on your point of view. 100%. You know. And
I think the lead single, Baile Inolvidable that you mentioned before, which I think is, I was listening like it was a podcast or was a video random YouTube maybe, I don't remember. They were mentioned like how like also like he released this as the first single and it's like a 6-minute song and it went #1. Like nowadays when songs are like 2.5 minutes for TikTok, he's just releasing a song of 6 fucking minutes and it's like salsa, it goes to different genres, has like a piano breakdown. It's like, it's very like, wow, like he's really doing it because he wants, you know, it's very like in that way. It's just like, this is going out. If it's going well or not, it will happen.
I think because it tells a story, right? And I think people are kind of craving that. Yeah. Because it's like...
And it feels authentic.
You don't get that... You can get a story from a short song, of course, but there's something really like, like it builds, it changes the direction, and I think that's what people really love.
What do you like most about the album?
Which songs do I like? I really like Ballet It's really difficult. Inolvidable. That one I really love. I think that's a beautiful song. I also really like, but it's very old Bad Bunny for me, is like Perfume Nuevo.
Perfumito Nuevo.
That one. I really like that. I really like the one about the is it Bochete, the potholes. Boquete. Yeah, and I like EO. I like the that's really old school. Like I really want to dance to that one in Mestizo, for example. But I love it. It's a beautiful album. So happy to see him back.
Definitely, definitely. If you don't like his music, just check him. Like just out of the curiosity as well, because I think it's like an interesting project.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. See you next week.
See you next time, Familia. Bye,
bye, guys.